This is Seahawks Stories, 50th Season Edition, presented by Emerald City Athletics.
Welcome to another edition of the Seahawks Stories 50th Season Edition, as we are telling the stories of the franchise from people who have been there, done that, and had a front row seat to history. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. My name is Jen Mueller, and I am alongside two legends who really need no introduction. The legendary Kenny Mayne.
Yay.
I was waiting for some applause. No
too.
applause?
Put that in later.
We will applause all the way around. Thank you very much. And my broadcast partner, former Seahawks wide receiver, Steve Raible.
Hello, Jen.
Are we going to applause
I'm going to
too?
stand up for Steve right now.
Don't. You got a bad foot. Don't stand up.
No.
It's okay.
Was fast. He was good. Little injury. Got nicked up. Didn't get to play as long as he should have. But, no, he was a good player. And he always plays the straight man. Oh, yeah, I was the clear-out guy.
Right.
But, no, he made some plays
He
for
did. He did make some plays.
Absolutely.
Fun fact about Steve Raible, when I got the job as sideline reporter, and I'm telling my parents that I'm actually going to be on the Seahawks sidelines, it was Warren Moon, it was Steve Raible, it was myself. My mom goes, "You're going to work with Warren Moon?" Because Warren was the quarterback I watched growing up. My dad goes, "You're going to work with Steve Raible, the wide receiver?" Like, he had some good catches. He was from Georgia Tech. He starts going through all your stats, and I'm like,
Yeah.
So you made my dad very happy.
Well, I'm very pleased
Yes.
Just
about
so
that.
humble.
And right now, he's
I have
speechless.
every reason to be humble, actually, now that I think about it. But
He's speechless,
Paul
which
Johns,
is bad.
too.
Which
Paul
is
Johns.
bad
Don't know
for a
about him. That guy
podcast.
was
Listen,
elite.
hey, he's the reason I'm sitting right here now and did news for so long.
Yeah.
Because he was the guy my sixth year when I got hurt who stepped up and took the role that I had. We're not here to talk about us, though.
I was going to
I'm
say,
gonna
who's
talk about-
leading this
I'm
conversation?
talking about
Jen.
me for a while.
Who's leading this conversation? By the way, we are broadcasting from the Seahawks podcast studio, presented by Sony, the official headphones partner of the Seattle Seahawks. For as much fun as we could have talking wide receivers with the former wide receiver, we are actually going to talk quarterbacks and running backs, which is a fun topic, but kind of a big one. Is there a name that you are afraid that you're going to leave out or not talk about enough?
For sure.
Which one do you think it is?
Well,
Let's just get it out of the way. That way you don't have that problem.
Mark McGuire's brother, what was his name? He was really tall.
Yeah. Dan McGuire.
Dan McGuire. He's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah,
too
something
tall.
like that.
Some guys are too short. He was too tall.
He was too tall?
Probably had a
I
live
wish
arm
I
now.
had that problem. I have never been accused of being too tall at any point in time.
First thing that jumps to my mind, the start, Jim Zorn, number 10, 10 to 80, Largent, catching the ball from Jim Zorn. And they used to have, I think they called it like a controlled scramble. They had this I formation, running off tackle, and then they'd fake that and roll out one way. But sometimes he'd roll that way, turn, roll back the other way. Largent's run like a post corner out on the backside. It was ridiculous. Like, Jordan was 25 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to watch. They were a wild team. It was just fun to be in the stands watching that.
In those early years, our whole offense was built off the sprint draw. And that's what the play was that you just described. Come out, fake the deep handoff to Sherman Smith, who was going to be one of my guys that doesn't get enough credit, who ended up becoming a fabulous coach in this league for so many years. But he was a terrific running back.
Yeah.
When he was drafted, he and I were the bonus picks in the second round in 1976. Sherman, they drafted. He was a quarterback in college, and they drafted him as a wide receiver. And in actually, it wasn't a mini camp. We had a rookie camp, 2-day camp in May after the draft. And they looked at him, took one look at him, this big stature, guy.
Like a tank? Yeah.
Yes. And they said, "You're our running back," which was great for me because that made one less guy I had to worry about to try to, beat for the position. But that sprint draw, everything then was built on it. You could hand it off. Sherman could cut back the holes across the line of scrimmage wherever he found an opening. Peel back with Jimmy. If you keep the ball, you throw here, you throw underneath. We would run a drag route.
Yeah.
Steve would run the 6 route or the backside corner route. And all of those things came off of that single play because Jimmy could do it.
Yeah.
Because Jim could roll out and throw on the run.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say. Why isn't that still something that we see in the league?
Right. And we do in some cases. I mean, you see Pat Mahomes.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Step front side, roll backside, same thing with Hurts. But you got to have a quarterback that can do that. You talked about McGuire a minute ago. Dan McGuire couldn't do that because he was a big, tall, lanky guy who was a straight drop-back quarterback. And there are those guys who physically just can't do what those rollout quarterbacks can.
And there aren't that many, though, doing the classic literal throw on the run like Jim.
Yeah.
Warren Moon, I walked on at Washington before I went to Wenatchee, before I went to UNLV. I was there for 5 days. So I walked on and I walked off. I thought I was better
Did they say hi to
no,
you
they
when you
didn't
were there?
Well, yeah. I mean, Coach James pretended to know me years later, but no, I thought I was better than the freshman, no offense. They were trying to convert him from another position, sort of like what you just talked about.
Yeah.
But Washington had this classic 5 on the 5th step you throw. It was a 12-yard out, and Warren Moon was as good as anybody, and I tried to emulate him, then Zorn, because to me, that's the best way. You get away from the mess.
Yeah.
No one's going to hit you, and you get the ball out quick. But Warren the open was called open at 6 o'clock. The next one was the push, and it had a name for every step. And on the 5th step, he's throwing, a short out. But, yeah, I mean, heck, we just mentioned another good quarterback, Warren Moon, here. But that early time, Sam Adkins was there. Sam, God love him, I used to sit by him at a lot of the games. I said, just get me a seat at the Sam Adkins table. It's in the press box. Not where the cool guys, not down by Art Teal and all them, but we're up there. Sam was like a coach, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he really knew, and was helpful as a backup in that same respect.
He was my roommate during all of the years that except for the first year. The first year, Largent and I roomed together on the road, and then I just had to get a new roommate because he snored so badly. I mean, I would never
the
get
untold story of the
there you
Hall
go.
of Famer.
I would never get a minute's sleep during the night on the road because Largent would snore. I mean, it sounded literally geese would hit the door because it sounded like he was calling geese. And anyway, so the next year, Steve and Jim, of course, they had a fabulous first season together. So they roomed together. And Sam came in, and he and I hit it off. And you were a quarterback, so you know this, whether it's running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks. But the guy you tend to end up working with a lot on the field, since I was a backup, Sam was the guy that actually threw me a lot of passes during practice. So he and I developed that kind of friendship off the field as well. We were all great friends. But Sam was a really good quarterback, big guy, bigger now, but big guy, strong arm, smart. And when I left in '82 to go into broadcasting, Jerry Rome, I think it was the World Football League was rolling around right about then. You probably
Jerry was
got a
still
tryout
Seahawks
there.
in '82, though.
Yes, until Jack got fired, and then all of them were taken out. The chance to get into coaching, Sam had that opportunity, and Jerry Rome loved him. He was our offensive coordinator and our quarterbacks coach, and he knew as much as anybody on the team about the offense.
Oh, sure.
Sam did. But he decided, you know what, I like my family. I want to see them a little bit more. And so he stayed away from the coaching until his son got into high school, and then he coached a little bit of high school stuff.
I'm glad you brought up 1982, a consequential year for the Seattle Seahawks. The original field was what people in the area know as Carillon Point. There's restaurants and a hotel there. It's right on the lake.
Yep.
And I was only second string at UNLV. I wrecked my leg my junior year. Sam King, the kid who played ahead of me, led the nation in passing yards. Jimmy Sandusky in receiving yards. He would later be a Seahawk.
Sure.
And Sam turned down a deal to come up here and try out. He was going to try something else. And Coach Knapp said to Dick Mansberger, the player director, hey, if you like Sam, you'll like his backup. That was me. I come up here and throw, and Steve Largent walks out of the building to be my receiver. Well, that's helpful. He's catching
Was
balls.
it, though? Because how long were you a Seahawk?
Well, I was about 3 weeks there, like, the people throwing in July or whatever.
Yeah, Carolina.
Then we go over to Cheney where they used to have the camp.
Yep.
And day one, I failed the physical for my wrecked ankle. I would have cheated. They put me on this machine, like a leg lift, Cybex machine. And I didn't know I thought it was like a 40. I thought it was like a bench press. I was trying hard. I would have cheated, gone easy on my good leg, hard on my bad leg, but the differential was such that they kicked me out. I'm walking out. Jim Zorn, gives me a hug. Dave Krieg, hey, as long as you're leaving, go get some beer and have the intern bring it back. But that brings in Dave Krieg from tiny Milton College, which no longer exists. And, he comes out of nowhere. Zorn's back up, and there's Adkins. I'm gone, but those three stay. And Dave, supplanted Jim a couple years, 3 years?
End of '82, actually.
Oh, was that year or the year after?
Yeah, because '82 was the year. 82 was the strike year.
Yes.
Okay, so then it was '83 when Dave supplanted
Coach
Jim.
Knox.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Dave's in the conversation. He had some really, really good years. Got him their first playoff game, threw a ton of touchdowns. There was a time I always used to brag to people that I knew him because all-time NFL stats. They had different quarterback rating. They've changed it a few times, but it was Otto Graham, Joe Montana, Dave Krieg. That was good for like 4 years.
You know, Dave played 19 seasons in the NFL.
He was all over. Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that. Like, I know, but man, that is a long time to play.
He was a backup at a number of those spots, but he played and played well. You know, he was at Kansas City. He played there. He backed up Joe Montana at Kansas City.
Yeah.
I remember him telling me a story. One night before they're getting ready for a game, and Jim and Dave and Joe Montana roomed together. Does anybody room together, by the way, anymore? Does every player have his own
private
room now?
suite, pool table?
Good gracious. I mean, nobody had private rooms in those days. So here you are, you're with a Hall of Famer. And thank you, I know.
Yeah.
We were lucky, I guess, not to be sleeping in tents from the Civil War back in those days. But Dave told me the story that Joe was having an attack of kidney stone the night before the game, and he was in just a world of hurt, just really painful. I've never had them, but I've heard it's really, really painful. And so Dave is, trying to help, and the trainer and all that kind of stuff. And here's Dave, the next day they're playing a game. And I guess Joe was well enough to play the next day. And he took, of course, Kansas City to playoffs and all the rest. But Dave Krieg had a heck of a career.
Oh, he was good for us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was, he was that gym rat. If you looked up in the dictionary, gym rat picture, it would be Dave Krieg.
Well, that is a name that probably does not get mentioned enough. Here's another one I'm going to throw out before getting to some of our more recent big names. Max Strong.
Well, he should be.
When he was
should
here,
be.
absolutely. But because you don't use fullbacks anymore.
I was going to say, can we do fullbacks? Because I was going to say Dan Dornick.
Yeah.
How about John L. Williams?
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh. We had some
You
really
can go
good
every
ones.
year, and there's good, it's the National Football League. There's going to be some good players.
Exactly.
And we're going to feel terrible when we do leave somebody out.
Yeah.
You guys will fill it in later.
Right, that's right.
Exactly.
It'll just be like an awkward audio drop. And
That's right.
whoops.
Those guys were all, they're not the prototypical fullback that you think of today. Today's fullback is, get behind on the push and shove everybody to the end zone, or be a former defensive lineman who's lined up in the backfield.
Yep.
And you're trying
Seahawks
to
have done that a few times
exactly.
in recent years. Yeah.
You're trying to kick out on somebody or cut the defensive end. Those guys in those days, fullbacks were good ball carriers. They were great pass receivers.
Oh, like the
John
screen
L.
package?
Williams, oh, my God. John L. Williams and Dan Dornick were as good a receivers as we've ever had in this franchise coming out of the backfield. Those guys were terrific. So the 1-2 punch with Kurt Warner or Chris Warren, a running back we don't talk enough about, those guys, that punch that they had for Chuck Knox in those days, and we tend to forget, Chuck was ground Chuck for all of his time, right? That was what he was known as.
Right.
When everybody got hurt in the backfield for him, Kurt Warner, all the rest, everybody was hurt. It wasn't ground Chuck anymore, and suddenly Steve Largent is catching all kinds of touchdowns. Dave Krieg is throwing them. So Chuck Knox showed that he could just adapt whatever happened out there. He found a way to get his guys in a position to win games.
And you mentioned Kurt Warner just briefly there. Kurt with a C, right?
Kurt with a C.
And the injury, non-contact, it was so sad because he had such a big future still to come.
I remember that. It was
to the right. I think he was going
it was
to
going
the
to the right side, and it was a sweep play to the right. He was rookie his second season, first game of his second season, and I think it was against Cleveland. And he starts to turn the corner, and you saw his leg just sort of pop up off the ground. If you see the video of it, I saw it, and I was doing color at that time. Pete Gross, play-by-play. And so I had a chance to kind of see the bigger picture, and Pete always, as we do now, you've done play-by-play. You focus on the ball, where it's going. But I just watched that leg pop up, and I just thought, oh, God, he's hurt himself. And he didn't get up off the ground. And I love Kurt. We're friends for 40 years. But the story about that is, and eventually he got up and he was helped off the field and he was done for the year with the knee injury. When I was at Cairo, my first year there, Cairo in 1982, 83, and Cairo TV and radio, and a photographer for the station was there at the game. So the TV camera is pushing down toward the player down on the field who was Kurt. Our photographer was standing over by the rail of the Kingdome eating a hot dog. Oh, no. The camera was on the ground. And the producer, you remember Jack Concannon?
Yes, Jack Concannon, who was a center on my team at UNLV.
There you go. He was our producer at TV side. Yeah. He lost his mind. He was sitting in the control room at Cairo, or in the edit booth, catching highlights.
Maybe the guy hit the button and it's rolling on the ground now.
Oh, my. It was the funniest story I'd ever heard associated with a guy getting hurt. It was awful. But here is the photographer over there having a hot dog while Jack Concannon get pictures. The franchise is lying on the ground for crying out loud.
Feed the staff well before the games, and that doesn't happen again. I put that on
that
management.
changed pregame meals for sure.
That's right.
Well, this NFL season, feel every play, every hit, every moment with the Sony 1000 XM5 noise-canceling headphones, the official headphones of the Seattle Seahawks. With premium noise cancellation, you are in the zone. No distractions, just pure football. Whether you're in your living room or on the go, you'll never miss a beat with Sony headphones.
How much do you get paid for that? That was a good read.
Thank you.
Sure.
I love reading
efficient
billboards.
Yes,
Thank you. Yes, it's one of my favorite things to do with a microphone.
I like making fun of them as I read them.
It also dawns on me that we're not going to get very far. I mean, he and I sit here and start talking, tell these stories, and
I've got it.
You've got to have a lot of time because
I have all the time in the world.
Okay.
Shaun Alexander.
Well,
we
that
haven't
was
even
going
gotten
where
there yet.
that's where I was going next.
Okay.
What do you remember most about Shaun Alexander? I mean, I remember number of touchdowns like that. Yeah, I remember him leading the league in touchdowns. But what do you remember most about Shaun and what that 2005 season was like?
The thing I remember most is going to do a feature story on him because for a bunch of years I did these pretend football stories for NFL Countdown. We either take a real story and go off the cliff with it or just totally make it up. We had a fake Seahawk. We better talk about Kim Il-sung.
Oh, yeah.
The most famous Seahawk of all. But
was he North or South Korea?
South.
Okay, thank you.
I go to interview Shaun, and I can't remember what the subject was. This might have been a little straighter story, more of just a regular feature. But I'm expecting, big star in the NFL, and maybe he's frugal. But we went to a place. What am I trying to say?
I don't know. I can't wait, though.
He was living like regular people. Let's just say that. Maybe he moved up to a mansion later. He has like 11 kids.
I was going to say it has to be maybe not a mansion.
Well, now
but it's got to be big,
a complex,
a compound, because they got kids, and now I think some of them are old enough to be playing high school football.
No, he was fun. Didn't he have like 30 touchdowns one year or some ridiculous thing? Like
amazing.
He made plays. Now it certainly helps that we had a pretty good line at the time, did we not?
Yeah.
Yes.
Walter Jones, Steve Hutchinson, Robbie Tobeck, Chris Gray.
So Shaun wasn't that good.
Shaun
was pretty average running back that excelled. No,
you had Max Strong blocking for you. I mean, it really
he had help,
works
but
together.
man, he made plays. He had great vision. I'd say that was the number one thing. Get that outside play and either cut back or go outside or do whatever. But and he seemed like just enjoying it the whole time, right?
He would when you watched him, he never, it seemed, took a really direct hit. He'd always find a way to kind of slither around the hit, get down under the hit, turn outside and outrun them. Deceptive speed. He'd outrun DBs to the goal line. He had, as a running back coming out of Alabama, and so many of them have been so good for so long down there has to be a little bit of ego coming out. You have to believe in yourself and know that you can play. But in the years, especially since, he'd become so down to earth and such a nice guy to just stand and chat with, and
I just saw him at the Super Bowl. We talked for 15 minutes.
He's a very smart guy, and obviously likes kids. They got a barracks full of them.
They do. Okay, so you go from Shaun Alexander, who knew how to not take a direct hit, to Marshawn Lynch seeking out every single hit. I was working Sports Star of the Year. Kenny was there. You were there. And I would ask people as they came through the red carpet. These are sports people from all different walks of life. Do you have a favorite play in Washington sports that sticks out? And the number of guys, including Gary Payton, who said, it was the Beastquake run for me. He didn't even pick his own highlight. He was like, it has to be that.
Yeah.
I think there were others, and I don't know if I can cite, I'd have to go back and look at the logs, but that one, while amazing because of what it did, we got in the playoffs at 7-9 for starters, right? And then have this upset win on the script. But, by the way, they were tackling the ball. It was a great run,
But they also, they were.
Find a way to drag this down, Kenny.
Find
a way to take the edge off of it.
That run was garbage, and he should be embarrassed for what he did that day. My memory of Marshawn, who wasn't even here, he was a rookie at Buffalo, and Willis McGahee had been there before, and on the way out of town, he trashed Buffalo like, it's a terrible town. They got a Dave & Buster's and Applebee's, and don't even start on the women. And so we took Marshawn Lynch out on the town to go to Dave & Buster's and Applebee's with some Buffalo women. And I had never met him. He's a rookie right out of Cal. And he's just like he is now, a little smaller and a little more reserved, I guess you'd say. But he was great. You could just see he's so quick. He's so smart. And I always hated it because it's less about the football than the man, in my opinion. I always stood up for him when I'd hear people like knocking him for not talking to the media, or he has tattoos, or calling him a thug, all this stupid stuff. He's like one of the brightest people I know. He's charming. He's loving. He's humble, but he just didn't. He's unconventional. So he didn't want to do the on third down I ran the 42 trap. He just wanted to go home and watch Netflix and hang out with the boys, right?
Yeah.
So he's just a different guy, but he's special, and I love what he did for the team. But to me, the person stands out way more than the runner.
Also, the fact that he would care about the people around him, right? Everybody around him. So when he first got into town, it's my job to make sure that I've got relationships with all these folks. And I would go over, and I generally expect these conversations to last about 60 seconds. You move on, right? You don't want to overstay your welcome. And he invited the conversation, and he said, "Are you intimidated by me?" And I said, "Well, that's an interesting question. Why, we kind of go through this whole thing." And he goes, "Well, some people think that I'm intimidating for this and that." And we had an entire 20-minute conversation about his schooling and the papers that he wrote and all of this, which was awesome. There was another time we were playing Buffalo, but we were in Toronto, and I had gone out shopping. The Christmas party was the following week. I needed a dress for the Christmas party. I come back into the lobby. I've got these bags with me because I finally figured out what I was going to wear. And he's sitting in the lobby, and I just kind of give him the head nod because I don't want anybody to, go up to him and start asking for autographs. And he was like, "Oh, come over here. What do you got?" And I'm just like, I just went shopping today. Don't worry about it. And he goes, No, show me what you got. So I am taking out all of the things that I have purchased. And Marshawn is sitting there, critiquing it and asking, okay, what do we like about this? Meanwhile, people are coming up saying, "Marshawn, can you sign this?" And he goes, "No, man, I'm good. I'm not him." And I'm like, okay, so we go through this whole thing. He's great. The one thing I could not find was shoes to go with his Christmas dress. Okay, so I mentioned that. I go into the locker room Wednesday the following week. The first thing he says to me, "Did you find a pair of shoes to go with your dress?" There were any number of stories where
curious.
If he had the conversation with you, he wasn't going to forget, and he was going to follow up. And it might not seem like something that mattered to him, but that is Marshawn.
I think the biggest untold story about Marshawn Lynch, and his football obviously speaks for itself, and we've seen it, and I've called it, and had the honor of calling the Beastquake. And to your point, the next year or the following year, he had a run like that against Arizona, in Arizona, and my tagline at the very end after he crossed the goal line was, "That made Beastquake look like a walk in the park." And it was.
Down the right sideline.
Absolutely.
I know the one.
Almost exactly the same, except he shoved more people out of the way and ran over more people. But what he never got credit for when he was playing, certainly, and what a lot of people even today, until the Sports Star banquet here recently, when he received the Humanitarian Award for all of the charitable work that he does, for kids especially, that people have no idea
he does it under
about.
the radar.
Absolutely. That part is the amazing part about him. Yeah, he's tougher than Boiled Al as a football player, and tough, good teammate, guys on the sidelines. No coaches. Yeah, he's going to give them a hard time, but they know he's going to give them 100% of everything he's got on the field. He was always very good with us, short, sweet, just like he was with the national media too. But that's just who he was. I think
he gave me more time.
Well, I'm sure he did, because you were Kenny Mayne.
No, we got
all
each
the
other.
time.
People would. I'm not bright. It's just the way it was.
Yeah.
He didn't let a lot of people in, but he was always respectful of the story you just told, and he just was miscast. And I don't know why people didn't understand it. Even some Seattle people thought like you're letting somebody's opinion of him be your opinion because somebody got cut short on a post-game interview or whatever the heck their problem was. Can we talk about one play? But everybody brings it up. Super Bowl, we're at the 1.
Yeah.
Do we have
They
to talk
should
about
have
that play?
faked to him. It's 2nd down. We still got a timeout. Fake left, roll short side. Think you got Baldwin over there? Or throw it away, or run it in. Call timeout if you stay in bounds. That's what I would have done.
What's the old saying about if Grandma had something, she'd have been Grandpa? Yes.
No, because
Thank
everybody
you for
says you
that,
should
old
have
school
given it
Yes,
to him.
yes.
I say you should have faked it.
Well, that probably would have been a better, decision ultimately than what happened. But I could see why they did what they did.
Yeah.
And I'm
It would have been the greatest play ever.
They would have bragged up. Pete Carroll, what an incredible
exactly. What my issue with it was I don't think we had I didn't like the formation personnel that we had.
Yeah.
I thought if you're going to have somebody to throw that pass to,
Doug.
put Curse or Doug in that slot. And this is nothing against Locke, but Locke was a special teams guy, and he didn't run that many contested pass routes inside. And Curse had already made a fabulous catch on the sidelines.
Yeah.
We know that he's, he can catch anything.
But Browner jammed Curse pretty hard.
And he couldn't get off of that to kind of get across the face of the other defensive back whose name escapes me now, as so much does these days. But so I can certainly see why there was a lot of other things that they could have done, and I think Marshawn, even though he'd probably say they should have given me the ball, he was down there, he knew, he saw they had like 3,000 pounds of
1
beef
yard is
up
not guaranteed.
on the line of scrimmage.
It's true. It is.
That
it is
we're
a
done
shocking
talking about
point
that
for the ages.
until the next
the
time.
one name that I want to until the next time. The one quarterback name that we haven't brought up yet that I want to give some love to, Matt Hasselbeck.
Yeah.
Oh, we got Matt, we
So
got
good.
Russell, we got Gino.
We
still
got
to
all
come.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys are going to have to get through this quick. I will give you my
Sorry.
one Matt Hasselbeck story.
Yes.
Cheney, Washington training camp. I was working for King 5. I was a producer, and we had this great idea to take Matt Hasselbeck out around Cheney. This was Paul Sylvie kind of spearheaded this, and test his accuracy. So we picked about 6 things for Matt to do. We drove him around in the King 5 car. And we did everything from could he throw a football through the window, the drive-through window at Zips? Do you remember that?
Sure, I remember
like
the
standing,
Zips.
could you make it all the way through the car, through the window without breaking anything? He could do that. Everything. We rolled a giant tractor tire down the street. Was like, okay, here you go. Nailed it. Had him go at the top where his dorm was, because remember all the guys stayed in dorms. So we would go from the top. The window in his dorm room, we had a target, and he hit it. He hit everything perfectly, did not need a second take, was one of the most fun guys to have a conversation with. Yeah, it was awesome.
He was great for us, got us to the Super Bowl in Detroit. That was one of the weirder games ever. A lot of
there was
drops, some weird calls. It was just a weird Super Bowl period, but got there. No, he was solid leader of the team, good thrower, ran the offense, funny guy too, very charming. He had a great line in one of the Kim Il-sung features, told him to not touch his car before a game. No, he's just good dude, good on TV later. Nothing bad to say about him.
Yeah. No, Matthew was obviously, when you're a quarterback in that position, you played the position. So you have to be a leader. You got to be a good technician and throw the ball very accurate, all those things. Big target. He wasn't going to run out of the room generally, but he could get himself out of trouble, slide around in the backfield. I just remember early on, he was kind of a headstrong guy, and if you remember Mike Holmgren, and I know you do, we all do. Mike wanted things done his way because he learned from Bill Walsh very, very specifically. This is how you play quarterback. I want that ball not out here. I want it right here. And this is a guy running full speed, 18 yards downfield on a crossing route. If you can't throw that ball right here, then we're going to have to look for somebody else who can. Well, it's not like they got into arguments, but I remember Mike telling me the story one time. We had a tight end who was a nice guy, special teamer, kind of a backup, good blocker, not an especially decent pass route runner or anything as a tight end. And Mike and I were walking out onto the field at the old Northwest Bible College, where the second
facility,
facility of the Seahawks, out to the bubble. that they had out there to practice. So it was like
Smelled mold every time you went
there's
out
a big reason for that,
Tough spot,
I guess.
yeah. And Al Davis spied on us there. I think he bought apartments right above
I think he did. That's why they put the bubble in. And it's mid-November or something. So we're walking out, and I'm talking to him as we're going. And I said, so tell me about such and such. And he says, yeah. He said, Matt came over to him during practice, and he said, I got to get so-and-so. I got to get this guy running. I got to get him, I got to get him moving over here. And Mike stopped him, and I said, you're talking about a backup tight end. Relax. He's never going to run that fast. Just throw him the football. And that was kind of Mike's attitude with all the quarterbacks he ever worked with. Just listen to what I tell you. If you just do what I say, and Matthew will be the first to tell you that eventually the switch flipped for him, and he heard what Mike was telling him, how to do it, not just and why we're doing it this way. Not just throw it there, but how to and why we're doing it. And that's what made Mike, which I think was a travesty that he didn't make the Hall of Fame this year. But what made him a great quarterbacks coach when he was that for Bill Walsh, and also what made him a terrific head coach.
Yeah.
But maybe you should pull back the curtain on why it's Matthew and not Matt, because I call him Matt. Most people call him Matt. I think it's you and one other person that calls
his
him
mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. You hear things, in your business, as long as you did it. Jen, you talk to players every single day, and, of course, Sundays after the game. By the way, a little bit of love here. I don't know that there's anybody better that on a tough Sunday game, on a loss.
This isn't about her.
I know it isn't, but damn it, I haven't said anything nice about her yet. I'm not going to say anything nice about you.
It only happens twice a year, so let me just...
That's bask in it. But you do such a great job of that. But I'm talking to Mike's original offensive line coach who came with him here from Green Bay in 1999. His name escapes me now. He was an old, grizzled, offensive line coach, as many good offensive line coaches are, old and grizzled. The young guys, they haven't kind of been there yet.
The guy you're talking about doesn't like attention, so I think it's great that you didn't.
Yes.
Right.
And we were talking about, the calls at the line of scrimmage and all that, and I heard him say, yeah, and Matthew does a nice job in reading the defense. And I said, Matthew? You call him Matthew? And he said, well, I know his mom likes to call him Matthew. So he said, I call him Matthew. So I started calling him Matthew because I knew his mom did. And for me, it stuck. Now, you can't do it every time.
Would he say that to you like only my mom says that?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. And in fact, after one of the games, we're walking out, and this is now at Lumen Field, which was Seahawks Stadium then.
Which was CenturyLink also. Been a lot of things.
Been a lot of things.
Same place, though.
Same place. We were walking out to do you ever get to park down on the lower level, level 1?
Sometimes I just park in the middle of the Occidental and walk and just
walk
see what happens.
Park it on Dave Niehaus Drive and just leave it. Wait for somebody to come and get it for you. So we're walking out from the tunnel, and we're talking, and it was a nice game. He played a good game. His dad, Don, and I were players at the same time. His dad played with the Patriots and the Raiders, I think one other team. Tight end. Big lanky guy. So we didn't know each other, but we knew by reputation, name, and all that. So Matthew said, come on over here. I want you to meet my family, my folks. And so I walked over with him. And, hey, Don, how you doing? Steve, good to see you, blah, blah, blah. Matthew grabs me by the sleeve. He says, Mom, this is the guy that calls me Matthew. And she came over and gave me a big hug, and she said, nobody calls him Matthew but me. And she said, us close in the family. But she said, it's just so fun to hear when you say it. So to this day, I mean, even now, we saw him in Tennessee last season. He came over to the hotel. He lives there now.
Yeah.
Coaches with his brother in Tennessee. There's a story for you.
Yeah.
Go do those two, the two Hasselbeck brothers, coaching high school football. But he just could not be a nicer person, and comes from a great family, and he's got a great family. What was his daughter's name? She was
Annabelle.
our intern. Annabelle.
Yeah.
She terrific, and
Nice.
so good people, terrific quarterback, deserves where he is up in the Ring of Honor. Certainly deserves that. Went in with same year Mike did, and I can't say enough good things about him.
Well, you said so many. We got to cut Russell Wilson short now. We can't. Russell Wilson.
Well,
come
we
on.
can't talk about, I guess, without talking Russ.
Obviously. I mean,
You open the door, go right on
so
through it.
what's funny about it to me, Pete is saying there's going to be open competition that year, and we signed Flynn because he had a 7-touchdown game or something, and he cashed in. Nothing. He had some good games. I'm not knocking him. Just like sometimes you're in the right place at the right time.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure it's going to be, who's Russell Wilson? He's transferred 4 times, and little guy, like, say, yeah, sure, they're going to compete. And they did. And then it turned out he was pretty good. He just, he's been around. And I defended him this year. Like, the Pittsburgh had a nice run with him. They had really looked strong for a while, fell off at the end. Everybody wanted to dump it on him. If there's 32 jobs, he's still one of the 32 in my, maybe top 15,
I was going to say
whatever.
top 15 or 20 easily.
And just continue, different game. As you get older, you do different things, and maybe he does some things better. But, man, he just, every year we're in the playoffs. Every year he's scrambling around, making comebacks, and his deep ball everybody talks about. Like, leader, different guy, but he was true to the guy that was different, right? It's not a put on. That's him. And his whole thing about helping the kids at Children's every Tuesday. I mean, unless he was injured, which was pretty rare. But, man, he did great things for this franchise, got us our Super Bowl, should have won the next one. And he goes down as an all-timer, right?
I remember, without question. I remember the final preseason game of his rookie year, and he got to start that game. And Warren and I basically said to each other, how can they not start this guy? I mean, when you watch what he does, when you see his ability to avoid, when you see his ability to move in the pocket and throw the football and all the things that he can bring to you. Today, it is the blueprint of quarterbacks. It's the Patrick Mahomes. It's all those quarterbacks now who can do that extra thing. The drop-back quarterbacks are, they're a dying breed because defenses are so good now. You have to be able to move back there. And Russell could do all that. Later in his career, here certainly, listen, your legs start to betray you a little bit. That happens. That's called
that
age.
step that used to get you around the corner
You're
only
kind
gets
of
you
a half a
halfway.
step short.
Yep.
But what he never lost, I don't think, he never lost that confidence that he could continue to do that, sometimes to his own detriment, that he'd end up throwing an interception when he thought he could get that ball out on time. But boy, oh boy, when it came to making plays, I mean, think about the plays he made in some of the biggest games.
The Green Bay comeback game.
I was just going to say the Green Bay comeback game.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. He threw a 2-point conversion
from
to
the 30.
Luke Wilson, spun around twice, threw it like off his back foot. Now, Luke made a great catch on it. But for crying out loud, how do you make those plays?
But I think a lot of it was he instilled this belief, no matter what the score is, we had a lot of fourth quarter comebacks.
Oh, yeah. Well, he threw the ball to Curse
Who
in
had been
overtime.
previously intercepted
Absolutely.
3 times.
Yeah, and just stayed with it and then threw the ball, on an absolute dart in single coverage, which to this day, Green Bay goes I don't think they ran a zero blitz. I think they just went single coverage. And Curse just got inside of his quarterback on the post, and the ball was perfectly thrown. I always tell Zorn, if he'd ever thrown enough of those to me, maybe I'd have had it. No,
it's funny though because and they still wanted the run first thing. I mean, heck, we had Marshawn, but if he had been allowed to throw as many times as like Breeze, say, or
oh my,
he would have 500 yards every game too. But they ran the offense they ran. He did what he did. But yeah, spectacular, and he's got to be at the top.
Absolutely, and he didn't have to do as much as he did in later years because that defense was so good around him. I'm telling you, just ask the Philadelphia Eagles. Defense and running game still wins Super Bowls.
Sure.
And that's what won Super Bowl 48.
I think some people mistook that notion and said he's not as good. He's being carried. It was just complimentary. They all help each other,
Yeah, that seems that's the new word of the era of football now, complementary football.
I wasn't trying to use it. I thought I just came up with it.
Yeah, I'm sure
We'll
let you
think
that.
Moment.
Yeah, okay.
We'll let you have that moment. But it has been really fun to talk to 2 legends in their own right. Steve Raible, Kenny Mayne
Sean Salisbury gets a mention.
On this episode of Seahawks Stories, 50th season edition. We'll see you next time.